and good afternoon, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Hill.
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Skinner.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
And good afternoon, Commissioner Maynard.
Good afternoon.
Okay, and before we get started on the formal remarks that I need to read into the record, I just want to extend my appreciation for all of our guests and your flexibility today. Our meeting ran late, and we just want to express our appreciation for your willingness to roll the time a little bit later. And again, to our staff, thank you for hanging in there. We appreciate it. So good afternoon. Today is Thursday, November 16th, 2023, and this is an adjudicatory hearing before the Massachusetts Gaming Commission relative to whether to grant final approval of the proposed transfer of interest involving Wynn MA LLC and Realty Income Corporation. My name is Kathy Judd-Stein. I'm the chair of the commission, and as you noted already, I'm joined today by my colleagues, Commissioners Brad Hill, Jordan Maynard, Eileen O'Brien, and Keisha Skinner. The entire commission will preside over the hearing and decision of this matter. This hearing is convened pursuant to 205 CMR 101.01 paragraph subsection 2 subsection B, and will be conducted in accordance with 205 CMR 101.01, the informal fair hearing rules outlined in 801 CMR 1.02 and chapter 30A of the general laws. I'd also like to notify everyone that this proceeding is being recorded, and I'm just going to confirm that with David. Are we all set on the recording? Thank you so much. Excellent. A notice of hearing dated November 7th, 2023 was issued in the matter to the IEB and petitioners, Wynn MA LLC and Realty Income Corporation. I'll refer to Wynn MA LLC as Wynn MA and Realty Income Corporation as Realty. Together, they are the petitioners. The notice of hearing identifies the investigative report regarding final authorization for Encore Boston Harbor Realty Income Corporation REIT transaction produced by the IEB. The notice also identifies the issues that this hearing is intended to address. The IEB and petitioners are represented here today. I'll ask that Ms. Franks and Mr. Nozel each please identify themselves and their teams and advise the commission as to whom they represent as applicable. We'll start with you, Deandra. Ms. Franks, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Deandra Franks on behalf of the IEB. Also with me today is Interim Director of the IEB and Chief Enforcement Counsel Heather Hall, Financial Investigators Paul Eldridge and Susan LaRosa, and Trooper Julio Perez.
And thank you. Mr. Nozel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jed Nozel on behalf of the petitioners, both Wynn MA LLC and Realty Income Corporation. We are joined today by Sumit Roy, CEO of Realty Income Corporation, Michelle Bushore, Chief Legal Officer and General Counsel at Realty Income, Shannon Jensen, Senior Vice President, Associate General Counsel for Realty Income, and of course, Jackie Crum, Senior Vice President and General Counsel, Encore Boston Harbor.
Thank you. At the conclusion of my comments, this proceeding will commence with opening statements. Each party will be offered an opportunity to make a statement, though it's not required. After opening statements, we'll move to the presentation of the evidence in this matter. The IEB will be called upon to present its findings as described in the investigative report. Any commissioner may ask a question of anybody presenting information at any point during or following the presentation. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, the petitioners, through counsel, will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions of any individual who presented information on behalf of the IEB relative to any matter addressed in the investigative report or to which he or she spoke. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, the petitioners will be given the same opportunity to make a presentation. They may call any witnesses and present any other evidence they desire. The Commission has directed in the notice of hearing that at a minimum, the following individuals be available if called upon to testify at the hearing on behalf of the petitioners: and prepared to address the issues I've previously outlined. Those individuals are Jed Nosel, partner, Bond Dickinson, LLP, and counsel to both Wynn Mass and Realty. Jackie Crum, Senior Vice President, General Counsel, Wynn Mass, and Trustee. Sumit Roy, President, Chief Executive Officer, and Director, Realty. Shannon Jensen, Senior Vice President, Associate General Counsel, Realty. And Michelle Bouchard, Executive Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, General Counsel, and Secretary, Realty. Additionally, the Commission may require any of the individuals identified in the investigative report, including the individual qualifiers, to appear at the hearing to address any matters relating to the proposed transfer. As before, any commissioner may ask any question of any witness or presenter at any time during or after any presentation. Additionally, the IEB may ask any questions of any witness for the petitioners at the conclusion of the petitioner's presentation. The IEB and petitioners may raise any objections it desires at any time. However, the basis for all objections must be clearly stated. Finally, at the conclusion of the presentations of all the evidence, the IEB and petitioners will be provided an opportunity to make closing remarks summarizing the evidence. Before we begin, I understand there are a number of exhibits for consideration at this hearing that have been exchanged by the parties in advance. There are 7 of them. Those exhibits are as follows. Exhibit 1. Notice of hearing dated November 7, 2023. Exhibit 2, cover letter to commissioners from Deandra Franks, Ray Full investigation for final approval for Encore Boston Harbor Realty Income Corporation REIT transaction involving real estate associated with Encore Boston Harbor Gaming Establishment dated November 9, 2023. Exhibit 3, investigative report regarding final approval for Encore Boston Harbor Realty Income Corporation REIT transaction dated November 9, 2023. Exhibit 4, Chart A, the depiction of pre-closing structure and closing structure. Exhibit 5, table of contents for exhibits. Exhibit 6, exhibits. I think that's the table of contents. Exhibit 7, Realty Income PowerPoint. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the exhibits attached. Exhibit 6 are the exhibits. My apology. And are there any objections to any of these exhibits being marked and entered into evidence?
No, Chair.
Thank you. And Ms. Franks?
No objection.
Thank you. Thank you for those exhibits. They shall be marked and admitted into evidence at this time. For purposes of ensuring a clean record, I ask that the parties, when possible, please make reference to the aforementioned exhibit numbers when referring to any of these documents. If the IEB or petitioners would like to have any additional documents entered into evidence during the course of the hearing, please ensure that they are properly introduced and marked for the record. Commission anticipates that its inquiry at this proceeding will be related to the matters addressed in the investigative report and contained in the notice of hearing. In the event that a line of questioning conducted by the Commission moves into an area that has not been included in the report or notice, but that is material to the final determination of this matter, the petitioners may request a recess in the proceeding in order to review the issue. Commission will make a final decision at the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing. At the conclusion of the proceeding, the Commission will deliberate. If at any point during the Commission's deliberations it determines that further testimonial or documentary evidence is desirable, it reserves the right to ask IEB and petition or the petitioner to provide such evidence prior to a final decision being made. Ultimately, a written decision will be issued. So we'll now swear all the witnesses in. Counsel, are all the individuals you anticipate presenting testimony in this matter present on this call?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. If there's anyone who's not present or who later testify, it'll be up to you to alert the commission that they have yet to be placed under oath. We don't anticipate that. Anyone who will be testifying at this proceeding, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll provide before the commission at this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. We can all just state it in a hearing all affirmative. Thank you so much. It is my understanding that a pre-hearing conference was conducted with representatives of the petitioners and the IEB, at which procedural and evidentiary issues were discussed. Before we begin, do either of the petitioners or IEB have any preliminary issues or objections that they would like to raise?
No, Chair.
All set? All set.
The only preliminary matter, Chair, on behalf of the IEB is I think there's a stipulation to the IEB reports, which are in Exhibits 3 and 6, as well as Chart A, which is Exhibit 4.
That's correct, Chair.
So if we had that stipulation to the investigatory report, and did you make another representation, Ms. Franks?
Exhibits 3 and 6, as well as Chart A, which is Exhibit 4 in the packet.
Okay. Thank you. We'll now turn to you, Ms. Franks, and ask that you make any introductory remarks you'd like to make, and then we'll move right directly into the IEB presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. This matter is before you today for the final approval for the sale of the EBH Mass Property LLC, or EBH Mass Property, the owner of the EBH Gaming Establishment, also referred to as the Encore Property, to Realty Income Corporation, also known as Realty, a publicly traded real estate investment trust, or REIT, through its subsidiary, MGC Encore Holdings LLC, also referred to as MGC Holdings. With me today is the team of investigators that did the background review as required by the gaming statutes and regulations that comprise the information in the report before you, which is Exhibits 3 and 6. I want to thank the members of the IEB that worked on this matter. Interim Director of the IEB and Chief Enforcement Counsel, Heather Hall, Senior Enforcement Counsel, Kathleen Kramer, Chief of Financial Investigations Division, Monica Chang, as well as financial investigators, Paul Eldridge, Susan LaRosa, Zhongfei Zhu, Sergeant David Collette of the Massachusetts State Police, as well as Sergeant Kevin Owen, Trooper Thomas Roger, Trooper Julio Perez, and IEB paralegals Brittany Costello and Lily Papanico. As you know, we also have representatives from Realty here with us today. I want to acknowledge that the company was helpful and cooperative during the investigation and to thank them for their assistance. As part of the IEB's presentation, I'll have some prepared remarks for the commission, and you'll also hear from financial investigator Susan Rosa and Trooper Julio Perez as part of the presentation. Would you like me to move directly into the presentation now?
I think that's right, unless commissioners, you have a question. Thank you, Dion. Thank you.
As the commission recalls, in November of last year, after an initial investigation by the IEB, the commission granted interim authorization for this transaction on November 29th, 2022. Interim authorization allowed the real estate transaction to close, and it did close on December 1st, 2022. The transaction resulted in the transfer of the real estate and premises of the Encore property to the ownership of Realty, with Wynn MA LLC subleasing the property back through the entities. Chart A, which is Exhibit 4 in your packet, depicts the configuration as it currently stands and the relevant entities. I will share my screen now so you can see Chart A. Bear with me here. Can everybody see Chart A?
We can.
Great. So you can see on the left of this chart is the pre-closing configuration. And then on the right here, is the current structure in which Wynn Mass and EBH Holdings assigned all of the ownership interests in EBH Mass Property to MGC Holdings, which is now a subsidiary of Realty. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now unless anybody has any questions about the chart. Under this arrangement, Realty is a passive landlord of the real estate. Wynn MA LLC continues to hold the license, continues to be the operator of the property, and continues to be a wholly owned subsidiary of Wynn Resorts Limited. That was the arrangement that was represented last year, and our investigation has shown nothing to the contrary. We're here now for the second stage of the process required under our gaming laws and regulations, which is for you to consider and vote on final approval for the REIT transaction, which includes suitability determinations on the qualifiers associated with this transaction. Since November of last year, the IEB has conducted further review of suitability of the 3 entity qualifiers, which are Realty, MGC Holdings, and EBH Mass Property, as well as the 2 new individual qualifiers, Attorney Michelle Bouchard and Mr. Sumit Roy. The 3rd individual qualifier, Attorney Jackie Crum, is the trustee, who the Commission issued a key gaming employee executive license to on May 23rd, 2018. Given that Attorney Crum is already licensed as a GKE, she was only required to submit a certification. As I previously noted, we have submitted the report summarizing this further investigation, which is Exhibits 3 and 6. A significant portion of review focused on the financial stability of Realty and its relevant subsidiaries after the transaction, including the acquisition of the real estate at the Encore property. I'm going to now turn it over to Susan LaRosa, financial investigator, to summarize the highlights of the IEB's investigative financial findings that are detailed more fully in the report, including the suitability of the entity qualifiers.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. The IEB conducted a financial evaluation of Realty Income Corporation and its subsidiaries for the years ended December 31st, 2018 through December 31st, 2022. As part of our evaluation, we reviewed financial statements, tax returns, credit reports, and corporate governance for Realty. We also performed ratio analysis. Additionally, interviews with Mr. Sumit Roy, President and Chief Executive Officer, and Michelle Bouchard, Executive Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, General Counsel, and Secretary, were also conducted. The audit firm of KPMG LLP issued unqualified audit opinions for all years reviewed, which stated that the financial statements were presented fairly in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. Review of Realty's corporate governance confirmed that it was in compliance with New York Stock Exchange's listing requirements. The audit firm of KPMG LLP provided integrated audit services for Realty and subsidiaries. Debt ratings from Moody's Investor Services, Standard & Poor's Financial Services were also reviewed. Finally, we reviewed recent credit reports. The accounting firm of KPMG LLP prepared the tax returns for all years reviewed. For the tax returns reviewed, we noted that there were no total tax amounts shown, which is reasonable because the REIT distributed its income to shareholders in the form of dividends. Ratio analysis showed fluctuations, but raised no concerns in terms of financial stability or going concern. Realty was in compliance with all required debt-related financial covenants. In summary, the financial review did not reveal any issues or concerns with Realty's financial stability, integrity, and background. The IEB also performed a financial review of MGC Encore Holdings LLC, which holds the membership interest in EBH Mass Property, which owns the land and building of Encore Boston Harbor. The entity does not prepare audited financial statements or file its own tax returns, as its financial results are consolidated into the financial statements and tax filings of Realty. The financial review did not reveal any issues or concerns with MGC Encore Holdings LLC's financial stability, integrity, and background. Our evaluation was focused on the acquisition of EBH Mass Property by Realty. The transaction transferred EBH Mass Property, the owner of the Encore property, to Realty through its subsidiary, MGC Encore Holdings. The transaction closed on December 1st, 2022. Since that time, Wynn Mass, the operating entity and holder of the Category 1 license, has subleased the property at Encore Boston Harbor from EBH Mass Property, now a subsidiary of Realty through MGC Holdings. Wynn Mass serves as the tenant under the master lease with EBH Mass Property. The transaction is Realty's first acquisition into the gaming industry. The transaction increased the annual rental revenue of Realty and translates into a fixed stream of income for Realty. Realty's financial results have improved since 2018 as more properties have been added to its portfolio each year. Total revenue increased over 151% from 2018 to 2022, and net income increased over 139% during the same period. Most recently, as reflected in Realty's 2022 Form 10-K annual report, the company's net income increased by 141.8% from the previous year to over $872 million. 2023 updates. Realty announced on August 25th, 2023, that it signed a definitive agreement with Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust to acquire equity interest in a new joint venture that owns a 95% interest in the real estate assets of the Bellagio, Las Vegas. Upon closing, which occurred on October 3rd, 2023, Realty acquired a 21.9% indirect interest in the property. Blackstone retained a 73.1% indirect interest, and MGM Resorts International retained a 5% interest in the property. On October 30th, 2023, Realty and Spirit Realty Capital, Inc. announced that they entered into definitive merger agreement by which Realty will acquire Spirit in an all-stock transaction with an enterprise value of approximately $9.3 billion. The merger will not result in any change of control of Realty, and there is no expected change to Realty's executive management team or board of directors. Based upon the information reviewed, the Spirit Realty transaction does not impact the IEB's conclusion on suitability. Thank you. That concludes my prepared remarks.
Thanks, Susan. I'm now going to turn it over to Trooper Julio Perez to summarize the aspects of the investigation that the IEB performed on the entities and individual qualifiers.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. And good afternoon to representatives from Realty Income and Encore Boston Harbor. I am Trooper Julio Perez, assigned to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission's Investigations and Enforcement Bureau. Assisting me in our portion of this investigation are Sergeant David Collette, Sergeant Kevin Owen, and Trooper Tom Roger. After an in-depth review of all applications and submissions from Realty Income Corporation and MGC Encore Holdings, LLC, a thorough background investigation was conducted regarding the two Realty Income Corporation entities, the two Realty Income Corporation individual qualifiers, and the previously mentioned trustee, Jackie Crum, who has already been found suitable under a GKE licensure. As part of this investigation, routine communications were conducted with the applicants, which required the submission of additional information and supplemental documents. All communications with the applicant were courteous and professional, and information requested was provided in a timely manner. The process by which this investigation was conducted involved extensive research and discovery of any additional information which could be learned about the applicant, associated entities, and individuals from as many sources as investigators deemed necessary. Some of these sources involve databases that are either available to the public or law enforcement sensitive. Queries were conducted for any criminal history at the federal, state, local, and even international level. Individual applicants are required to submit their fingerprints as part of their application package, which are run through a criminal records database. It should be noted that no such criminal history was discovered for any of the qualifying individuals. Civil litigation databases were queried and reviewed regarding any lawsuits filed against the applicant, entities, or individuals. Particular attention is paid to any suits that contain any accusations of derogatory or fraudulent business practices. In regard to this specific investigation, no litigation disclosed or discovered revealed any such accusations or judgments. Secretary of State and SEC databases were queried regarding any filings reported by the applicant or qualifying entities. Any results obtained were reviewed for any derogatory information such as UCC filings or liens relating to the applicant entities involved in this transaction. No such information was discovered. Open source and media outlet checks were conducted and reviewed, including social media. A vast majority of the responses involved the ongoing business transactions, financial information, and specifically this transaction involving the acquisition of the real estate holdings of Encore Boston Harbor by Realty Income Corporation. All content was reviewed and revealed no derogatory information regarding any of the involved entities or individuals. Also, as part of these investigations, other jurisdictions in which the applicants are already conducting gaming-related business were contacted. All responses received from other jurisdictions revealed no derogatory or disqualifying information in regard to their existing licensure or suitability. Interviews were conducted of all Realty Income individual qualifiers and full reports were prepared. After a thorough review of the results of all aspects of the Massachusetts State Police portion of this investigation conducted into the applicant, associated entities, and individuals of this REIT transaction, no significant issues or concerns were identified. I will now hand it back over to Deandra.
Thanks, Julio. As I mentioned, this approval request comes with suitability determinations. The commission received reports on 2 individual qualifiers with more detailed information in Exhibit 6 and just heard about the background investigation that was conducted. I want to provide some further brief information on them for you now. 2 of the individuals before the commission are new qualifiers. The first individual qualifier is attorney Michelle Bouchard, the Executive Vice President, Chief Legal Officer, General Counsel, and Secretary of Realty, roles she has held since February 2021. Her employment history prior to Realty includes serving in a number of executive roles with Caesars Enterprise Services, LLC, the Monsanto Company, and the Service Master Company. Attorney Bouchard has been granted a license or been found suitable in numerous jurisdictions, including Nevada, California, Indiana, Mississippi, New Jersey, Missouri, and Pennsylvania. The IEB conducted its review as required by statute and found that she remains in good standing and no derogatory information or issues of concern surfaced or were identified during its investigation. The second qualifier is Mr. Sumit Roy, the President and Chief Executive Officer and Director of Realty, roles he has held since October 2018. Mr. Roy has served in a number of other roles with Realty and has been with the company since 2011. Prior to Realty, Mr. Roy served as the Executive Director of Global Real Estate, Lodging, and Leisure for UBS Investment Bank, and also worked in corporate finance for a few smaller companies, including MedWestvaco and WorldZen, in addition to working as an associate for Merrill Lynch. Mr. Roy does not currently hold any gaming-related licenses in any other jurisdiction. The IEB conducted its review as required by statute, and no derogatory information or issues of concern surfaced or were identified during its investigation. The third qualifier is attorney Jackie Crum, Senior Vice President and General Counsel of EBH and trustee. As stated previously, attorney Crum is currently licensed by the MGC as a Key Gaming Employee Executive, or GKE. The commission issued the GKE license to attorney Crum on May 23, 2018. Given that attorney Crum is already licensed as a GKE, she was only required to submit a certification. As I stated previously, the matter is now before the commission for final approval and determinations of suitability. The IEB is recommending findings of suitability for each individual qualifier and all of the entity qualifiers. All of the entity qualifiers, with the exception of Realty, now fall under Realty as subsidiaries. I would just remind the commission that suitability is ongoing. Each qualifier has a duty to maintain suitability during the pendency of licensure and to update the IEB on any matters that could reasonably impact suitability. And the IEB continues to monitor suitability on an ongoing basis as well. At this point, I just want to thank again all of the members of the IEB that worked on this. It was definitely a team effort, and I appreciate all of the hard work. This concludes the prepared remarks that I have for the commission, and of course, members of the team are available for any questions.
Commissioners, do you have I'm unmuted now. Commissioners, do you have questions for Ms. Franks or any of the witnesses today? I see no. Commissioner Skinner.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Maynard. You're all set as well. Okay, then I'm all set. Excellent presentation and excellent report. Very clear. Thank you. And thank you for all the efforts to all of the members of the GEU who have participated in this investigation. Thank you. Thanks, Julia. All right. So now I'm turning to the petitioner. Do you have any questions for Ms. Franks or other members of the IEB who have presented today? Yeah, and Mr. Nozzle, I read your list.
Sorry, yes, somebody's got to mess up on the link. I'll take responsibility. No, we don't have any questions for the IEB.
Okay, so now we're going to turn to you and your presentation on behalf of the petitioners, Mr. Nozzle. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. And I'll start sort of where I think you left off, Chair, and thank Director Hall, Attorney Franks, the entire IEB team for all their work on this. This is a sophisticated transaction. I think that comes through. Takes a great deal of work in order to get such a report in front of you, and we appreciate all the efforts around that. As has been stated here already, we're seeking final authorization for the contractual transfer of all the interests in the EBH property, and the petitioners meet all the regulatory requirements for final approval, including establishing by clear and convincing evidence that each of the qualifiers is suitable and the transaction is not disadvantageous to the Commonwealth. As the Commission may recall, we appeared last almost to the day a year ago in connection with interim authorization. We provided you with an overview of Realty Income Corporation, a summary of the transaction that's the subject of today's request for final authorization, as well as the summary of the triple net lease that's now in place, as well as other details regarding the agreement between the parties. We do have an updated PowerPoint that we've included in the package, and that's located as Exhibit 6 in your package. We don't plan to go through the entirety of that presentation today. It's a lot of information that's already been presented, but I did want to turn it over to Mr. Roy for a few comments and updates, really, since we met last about a year ago. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Roy, and I will attempt to share my screen, I think, as he speaks. I'll pull up one or two of the slides from the PowerPoint, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Nozzle. So I want to first thank the Commission for the time committed to this matter over the last year and a half. I also want to thank Heather Hall and the entire IEB team for all their work on the final reports presented to the Commission today. As Jed mentioned, we have included an updated PowerPoint presentation, I believe it's Exhibit 7, containing similar information we have presented to you in the past. While I do not plan to review every aspect of that presentation, I do want to provide the Commission with a brief update on Realty Income since we last met. First, our financial performance over the past year continues to be strong. Realty Income has continued to generate consistent and healthy results over the last year, a testament to the quality of our portfolio and the capabilities of our team and platform. Year to date, Realty Income has invested $6.8 billion in high quality real estate in the US, UK, and Europe at attractive initial cash yields. This activity has been conservatively financed with approximately $3.9 billion of permanent equity capital and $4.3 billion of long-term debt. Our balance sheet remains strong with net debt to annualized pro forma adjusted EBITDA of 5.2 times and approximately $4.5 billion of available liquidity. Additionally, we are one of only 8 US property REITs with at least 2 A3, A- credit ratings by Moody's and S&P. Our operations remain robust with occupancy of 98.8% as of September 30th, 2023. Finally, the same store rental revenue has grown at an annual rate of 1.6% per year, and we have generated recapture rates on releasing activity of 104.3%, both of which are above our long-term averages. Second, I want to highlight two transactions that have occurred that may be of interest. As highlighted in the IEB report, on August 25th, 2023, Realty Income signed a definitive agreement to invest approximately $950 million to acquire an interest from Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust in a new joint venture that owns a 95% interest in the real estate assets of the Bellagio in Las Vegas. This transaction closed this past October. The acquisition of the interest in the Bellagio continues a strategy of investment in best-of-class casino properties that started off with our purchase of EBH. More recently, Realty Income and Spirit Realty Capital, Inc., a publicly traded REIT, have entered into a definitive merger agreement by which Realty Income will acquire Spirit in an all-stock transaction valued at an enterprise value of approximately $9.3 billion. Once completed, the merger will result in an enterprise value of about $63 billion for the merged company, with Realty Income shareholders controlling 87% of the combined company's shares. We're excited about this transaction, which is scheduled to close in the first quarter of 2024. Spirit's assets are highly complementary to Realty Income's existing portfolio, extending the company's investments in industries that have proven to generate durable cash flows over several economic cycles. With that, Michelle, Shannon, and I are available to answer any additional questions the Commission may have about Realty Income or the EBH transaction.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Roy at this juncture? Mr. Nozel, is that?
I don't have any additional questions for Mr. Roy, and I would open up the panel to commissions for any questions that the Commission or IEB staff may have.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off. So, Ms. Franks or the Commissioners, questions? Ms. Franks.
No questions from the IEB.
Okay, Commissioners.
So I just have one for IB, which is the just confirming too that the reference to the recent ownership in Bellagio in the property doesn't have any sort of impact on the analysis that you presented or recommendation that you presented.
No, it doesn't. The interest is in the Bellagio, not in MGM Springfield or any other property. So no, it does not impact our determinations.
Thank you.
And Ms. Franks, nothing that Mr. Roy testified to today was a surprise to you?
No, it was not.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Madam Chair, just a comment. Well done to all parties. These are very sophisticated and complicated transactions, and I particularly appreciate IEB distilling all of this for us. I think the report is an excellent report and easy to follow, and so just wanting to put that on record. So I see Paul Eldridge, I see Trooper Perez, just all of the IEB team who contributed to this report. I just want to extend my gratitude to you because I do know that, I see Faye as well. I do know that it requires a lot of time and preparation, and I just sincerely thank you for your efforts.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner Skinner. Mr. Nozel, is that the conclusion of the petitioner's presentation today?
That is, I have a few brief closing remarks that I'll give when appropriate, Chair.
Okay, so I'll turn to, I think I've heard there are no further questions. I think I'll just do, I want you just to be able to bear with me. Nothing, there's been no change, and I think Ms. Franks, your team made this clear, but I'm going to ask Mr. Nozel and his team, no change that affects control for Wynn Mass.
Yes, Chair, there's been no change in control as a result of this transaction. That's the conclusion that the IEB has made, and that, of course, is our representation to the Commission.
Thank you. I just wanted an affirmative from you, and I think I heard it as well. So thank you so much. With that, we've heard apparently all the evidence in this matter. We thank you for the extensive reporting. And before we move to closing remarks, I'm just going to, because my script says to, I'm just going to make sure that there's nothing else, Commissioners, you wish to explore. All right. So we'll turn to the closing remarks. And I'll start with you, Mr. Noble.
Oh, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Commission. And again, thanks to the IEB for their work in this matter. As the Commission has recently stated in its decision in order granting final approval to the Vici REIT transaction, with respect to final approval under the gaming law and your regulations, each individual and entity designated as a qualifier for the transaction is required to establish suitability under the governing criteria by clear and convincing evidence. In addition, the second piece, the Commission may reject any transfer requiring approval under the regulations that it finds would be disadvantageous to the interests of the Commonwealth. And the Commission has gone on to define what it would consider being something being disadvantageous to the interests of the Commonwealth if it determines the proposed transferee does not satisfy the applicable conditions set forth under the Gaming Act, really focused around sort of that suitability element as well. Or any other applicable provision under the law or regulations. And of course, as you just clarified, for the record, Chair, the transfer, if it does result in a change in control, which it doesn't here, there would be an obligation to take on many other obligations of the licensee. However, that issue is not before the Commission due to the nature of the transaction here. So here, I think you've heard the IEB investigation hasn't revealed any issues or concerns with each of the new qualifiers, including the new individual qualifiers, Mr. Roy and Ms. Bushore, as well as Realty Income Corporation, which includes the company's financial suitability. The qualifiers have demonstrated the requisite integrity, honesty, and good character to be deemed suitable under Massachusetts law by clear and convincing evidence. Further, there's no evidence that the transfer of the interest in the gaming establishment is disadvantageous to the Commonwealth. Rather, we would suggest that the transaction is positive to the Commonwealth, including investment in Massachusetts gaming properties and providing additional access to capital for Wynn. And with that, we would like to close on our behalf and respectfully request that the Commission grant final approval for this transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Nozzle. Before we turn to Ms. Franks, just a reminder, Commissioners, that our individual qualifiers are here. Mr. Nozzle accurately characterized the evidence before us, but we have preserved the opportunity in these adjudicatory hearings to go to a private session should there be any questions that are sensitive. I am assuming that you knew that, but I'm just checking for the record. No need for that. Correct, Commissioners?
Correct, from my perspective.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. And then, yeah, I see. Thank you so much, Ms. Franks.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly in sum, the investigation, as you heard, uncovered no information that would serve to disqualify any entity or individual qualifier. It did not reveal any information that would preclude any findings of suitability for any of the individual or entity qualifiers. And our investigation revealed that the transaction resulted only in the transfer of property, and there was no evidence that there was any change of control of the actual gaming license. I just want to thank again all of the members of the IEB that participated, those that aren't here and those that are present today, and to thank the parties and the Commission as well for their time.
Okay. So I think that concludes this proceeding. The Commissioners are going to now address the matter in our own deliberations. So Commissioners, from a procedural point of view, we do have another virtual room to conduct our deliberations. At this time, I would like to thank all of you who testified today on behalf of petitioners and who conducted for the IEB team, all of you who provided us with a very fulsome report and evidence so that we can assess this matter. Thank you. And again, our apologies for being late. I think we've saved about 12 minutes though from what we thought was going to be an hour proceeding. So thank you so much. Have a good day, and we express our gratitude and good wishes. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.